Hello, everybody. As you guys shuffle in, I just wanted to do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Nikki Tran. I am the student body president at the Tempe campus.
And my name is Kajal Kapadia. I am the Director of University Affairs for the Student Government.
So we just want to welcome you all to our fourth and final student forum with President Crow. We host two per semester every year, and this is an opportunity for all students to ask any questions to President Crow or any other administration here. So yeah, we will be shuffling around. Kajal and I will be shuffling around. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, we'll have the microphone for you available.
And
Can all the other campuses hear me? Polly?
Yes, we can hear you.
West?
Yes, we can hear you.
Downtown? Oh, great. All right.
all right, and if you're one of the first 50 people who came out to the event and you have a mark on your hand, we'll be giving out hydro flasks on the way out, or if you ask a question. So
Perfect. So with that, we will start with some questions at the Tempe campus. I would like to introduce President Crow first, actually.
Hello, hello. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Nikki, and appreciate the introduction and happy to be here today talking to all of the campuses together. These have been fantastic forums in the past where we've dealt with questions and issues and concerns and facts and rumors and so forth and so on. Let me just say a little bit about where we are relative to our tuition proposal. The number one element of our tuition proposal above all others is that we have committed to 10 years in the future continue something that we started 7 years ago, which was to keep all undergraduate resident tuition increases basically at or below inflation, that is 3% or less, and as close to zero as possible. The last 7 years, we've done that with an average of 1.7%. Now we're promising to do that going forward for 10 additional years. No other university in the country is making such a commitment, so we're very excited about that commitment. The second element of the tuition proposal is the elimination of all class fees, all program fees, and a range of other fees like what add up on your bill, where your bill has a line sometimes of 10 or 12 or 13 different items. We will be changing the entire fee structure of the university to 4 aggregate fees, depending on what college you're in. And then our tuition proposal includes for in-state students a 2.8% request for an additional tuition. At the end of the day, our tuition ends up being the lowest in the state among any public university, the lowest tuition that is costed for anyone attending any university anywhere in the country if you're from Arizona. For out-of-state students, same model, different base tuition rate, slightly higher increase. And then for international students, same model, same system, slightly higher tuition rate increase. And so that's where we're headed with our tuition proposal for in-state and out-of-state and international students. Just want to walk through that in case there's any concerns. There's a public hearing coming up in a few days about that specifically. There's the board meeting coming up. The presidents of the universities make the proposals, the board makes the decisions. And we've received a lot of input from student leadership through the process. So, questions? I think we do a couple questions on each campus. Is that what we're doing?
If anyone have any questions, just raise your hand. We'll pass along the microphone to you.
And if people could just their name and the program that they're in, and it just helps me understand the question a little bit better.
Jamie Alexander, Communications, first year. I'm aware that some, depending on your major and your year, your tuition may be higher than 3%, and that the plan is to have financial aid cover the rest of it.
Right.
Can you explain more about how that would work?
So let's say that in your particular program, you ended up where so the way it will work, there'll be a base tuition of $10,700 plus or minus, and there'll be 4 fee structures. No more class fees. Your bill will be very simple. You'll either be a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. But let's say that in your individual case, you didn't happen to be paying those kinds of class fees because of the courses that you were taking, and it's a big jump up in your bill. We will financial aid that bill. That is, we will cover all the costs above a 3% total increase. And so no one will pay more than, for in-state students, more than a 3% total increase. We will financial aid that. It only affects students that are here now. When 2 years from now, 3 years from now, then there'll be no one that had something and didn't have something. So if that turns out to be you or someone that you know, that's how we will do that. And so people should, before they panic, they should raise their hand and say, what was that thing that guy was talking about? And so we're putting out a new tuition calculator. We're obviously bringing up to speed all the financial aid advisors, everybody else that's involved in the system, so that no one will have to then. This doesn't affect very many students, but it does affect a few, and this is why we decided to put that actual policy in place. So thank you for asking that. Other questions? Everybody's eating. There's a question over here.
Mine's more so a statement. Sorry. What did you want me to state? My name, major?
Name, your major, yeah.
My name is Giacomo Poggi. I'm an exercise and wellness major. And this is, so like I said, it's more so a statement that I was told to read. So this
What
is
does that mean, a statement you were told to read?
Yeah, I was told. I was on this too, but
Yeah, so this is your statement or a statement someone told you?
it's a
to
statement
read?
put together by a multitude of people. So
Okay, there we go. That's better than you were told to read.
exactly. So this is ASU's mission statement. ASU is a comprehensive public research university measured not by whom it excludes, but rather by whom it includes and how they succeed in advancing research and discovery of public value, assuming fundamental responsibility for the economic, social, cultural, and overall health of communities it serves. This is ASU's charter statement.
Right?
Yep. So statement reads, when students are victims or survivors of misconduct defined by the ABER Student Code of Conduct, the Dean of Students Office and the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities are the immediate resources afforded to students. Unfortunately, the relationship between students and two other offices have been consistently damaged as expressed by the Student Code of Conduct in order to foster an environment that, quote, encourages reasoned discourse, intellectual honesty, openness to constructive change, and respect for the rights of all individuals, end quote. Students must feel safe on all campuses and affiliated locations of Arizona State University. When these two offices falter, the general sense of safe and security at Arizona State University is especially damaged. Numerous students have expressed feelings of displeasure and discontent in regard to the conduct of employees within the Dean of Students Office and the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities. The dissatisfaction with conduct ranges from the lack of sensitivity demonstrated by employees to instances of complete and inexcusable negligence in regard to the ABER policies outlined in the Student Code of Conduct and the Student Code of Conduct Procedures and the Student Disciplinary Procedures. As a result, we are requesting an internal investigation within the Dean of Students Office and the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities alongside a Title IX investigation. Within the investigation, we are hoping for immediate action, which shall bring forth the following resolutions: increased departmental training focused on sensitivity with respect to the emotional and physical well-being of reporting individuals and non-reporting individuals, increased referral network of off-campus resources available to reporting individuals and non-reporting individuals, increased departmental training focused on understanding and properly interpreting the ABER policies outlined in the Student Code of Conduct, the Student Code of Conduct Procedures, and the Student Disciplinary Procedures, consistent evaluations of the department and individual staff members to monitor and ensure the full enforcement and execution of the ABER policies outlined in the Student Code of Conduct, the Student Code of Conduct Procedures, and the Student Disciplinary Procedures, particularly the policies regarding interim action for after the initiation of an investigation, as indicated in the ACD 401, prohibition against discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. Quote, Arizona State is committed to providing an environment free of discrimination, harassment, or retaliation for the entire university community, including all students, faculty members, and as a method faculty members, staff employees, and guests. Interim action is designated as a method in
How
which
much longer is the statement?
it's almost done. Harassment or entire university community, including all students, faculty members, staff employees, and guests. Interim action is designed as a method in which the university may support and protect individuals and the university community at any time. Additionally, we would like to request more actionable methods promoting accountability within student organizations and a more comprehensive approach to education and prevention of sexual violence. Currently, as outlined in the Student Code of Conduct, student organizations may be charged with violations of the Student Code of Conduct as the same extent as students. Following the model of Arizona State University fraternity and sorority life, we would like to request a department focused on regulating student organizations and ensuring that all student organizations are in accordance with the Student Code of Conduct. With the request, we would like to see the following resolutions implemented: mandatory monthly training and presentations on sexual violence for all student organizations, detailing and defining what sexual violence is, how to prevent sexual violence, how to support victims/survivors of sexual violence on a personal, professional, and academic level, and resources available for victims/survivors. Mandatory bi-monthly training on sexual violence for all advisors/advising teams of student organizations, accompanied with evaluations of the department and individual staff members.
Thank you. So first, let me go to some of the core issues that the statement reflects. On matters of sexual violence, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, those are things which require immediate action, regardless of where we are in terms of improving policies and so forth. And so any student should be aware that if you've been sexually assaulted, sexually harassed in some sort of way, inappropriate behavior, you have to let people know immediately. And if you don't get satisfaction from the people that you let know, then you let me know personally. Michael.crow@asu.edu so that we can get the resources to you for the assistance and help that you need. That assistance and help might be counseling staff, it might be the police, it might be any range of assets that the university has available to it. But for anything that's a sexual assault, anything, we have policies and procedures, but the person needs to get assistance immediately. To the other points that you make, the list of requested outcomes made sense. We may be doing some of those things, but perhaps not as well as we could. We're always looking for critiques and improvements. And so this is a critique of where we are and where we should be and where some students, if not many students, think that we need to improve. So we need to take a look at it. There are 4 deans of students one on each campus, and there's a staff of deans of students, across the entire university. And so I think a way to address this would be to go above the Vice President for Student Affairs, Jennifer Hightower, to the Senior Vice President for EOS, which is Dr. Rund, who's sitting right here. And I'll ask Dr. Rund to put together a team, not just from Student Affairs, but from Academic Affairs and from the General Counsel's Office and from other units in the university so that we can look at each of these issues that are being brought up. We'll have to get down to some specifics to make certain that we know exactly what some of the triggering mechanisms are for these issues. And then in terms of staff training and staff awareness, we do have mandatory staff training, not on a monthly basis as was recommended. But we do have mandatory staff training for everyone, including myself, on matters related to conduct and sexual harassment and so forth. So there may be ways that we can improve that even further. We probably also ought to look at the cases that led to this level of concern. And there were these 3 cases or these 5 cases or these 10 cases or this one specific case that was mishandled or not done in the right way. And we need to go in, and this is what we typically do, and figure out what we did right and figure out what we did wrong, what got handled the right way, what got handled the wrong way. And if there are issues then that are a function of gender or ethnicity, then we need to be particularly focused on those. Was there something that we could have done in a better way where we could have shown more, staff could have shown more sensitivity, we could have engaged in a different way, and this would be staff at all levels. To some of the points that you were making that I thought were really important, go to this notion of the breadth of counseling services and the breadth of support services, not limiting those, but making certain that a person can get inside help and outside help. Now we have those services available, people have to want to avail themselves of them, but sometimes we may not do as effective a job as we could in communicating the availability of those services, the support services that are in place, the other things that we can do. So there may be a need for enhanced education of everybody all around. In terms of the issues between and among student groups, that's sort of a separate issue. So we want to make sure that we divide these up. I think, Jim, we'll divide these up, and there may be a slightly different audience for each of these, perhaps. And then I think the people that wrote that, and I appreciate that you saying that you were one of the writers, because I don't want you reading some statement that someone else told you to read, which is why I took that position. I want it to be your statement also. And that is the writers of the statement have got to be involved in the process, because they're the ones that are motivated to take an extraordinary length of time and put together a pretty comprehensive assessment of where they think that we're falling down. And so I'd like them, because they have the most information, to say, well, these are the reasons that we wrote it. These are the issues, and it doesn't have to be person specific. It has to be, here's what we're upset about. Here's what we're concerned about. Here's what needs to be made better. And then we need to work at that. And so we can work at that in April before people start graduating, so that we can have new policies in place before the beginning of the next academic year. Or we could put together a special summer task force and have students work on this together during the summer, and have students appointed to a task force with staff to work through the summer. We can find ways to support the students if they have to stay here in the summer to work on it. And so we can do that either way, because on these kinds of things, I don't like them to linger. I'd like to get at it, figure out what it is, figure out what the triggering mechanisms were, figure out what we did wrong, what we did right, figure out what we need to improve, and then by August, be rolling out our new policies and our new procedures and our new approaches. And so perhaps you can talk with, or others can talk with, Dr. Rund, who's right here. Wave your hand after the meeting. So, all right, thank you. You want to go to another campus? And in general, the reason I asked you for the link to the statement is the statement could have been long enough to take up the entire time of the meeting, which wouldn't have really been fair to the other students, because you could say, let me read to you the basic purpose of this, and there's 14 other pages, and here's what it's about, and here's what I want to do, and so forth. And so, but thank you for letting me know.
So we're just gonna, if anyone wants to ask any questions, I think we'll do that, and then we'll switch to the other campuses.
One more question from the Tempe campus. There's one up here, one over there.
Hi, my name is Joshua, and I'm a political science and film major.
Mhm.
And one of the most pressing things to me as a student and also a student worker is our wages.
Uh-huh.
Like the State Press had a really good piece on it last month in their magazine. So I was wondering if there's any plans to like address the fact that a lot of us are paid below the minimum wage.
So I think I've indicated in the past, and I'll reiterate now, that the university, which is exempted from the state's minimum wage, students that work at the university do not have to be paid the state's minimum wage, but we're going to pay students the state's minimum wage. And so it's a scheduled process. I don't know exactly what we're paying now, but it's above 10, approaching 11, and then we eventually have to get to 12. And so by the time, as soon as, I don't know what the exact schedule is for implementation, we can get that to you. But we've decided to not follow the policy and go ahead and pay our students the minimum wage of the state, which by, I think, next January is $12 per hour. We're going to do that because that's one way to help students to earn more money for college and so forth and so on. It's also fair. We also believe in the $12 minimum wage. And so you can't pretend that you believe in the $12 minimum wage and say, well, that's for some people, but not for our students. And so that's the reason that we're doing it. We'll be happy to know that the federal policy will be also to exempt students from minimum wages and take you back to the federal minimum wage of $7.35 an hour. So we won't be following that either. So we'll be continuing with the Arizona minimum wage, and that's how we're going to move forward. There's many students that make more than the $12 minimum wage, and many students that make even some salary-oriented wages like graduate students. And so that's where we are on that. I think we're slightly behind that minimum wage structure right now, just rolling that in. But within the next short window, I don't know if anybody knows the exact answer, but that's our decision. That's a policy decision that we've made.
Sorry, I know there are some hands that were raised. We'll come back to the Tempe campus, but for now, we'll move on to the next campus. So, Polly, does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Crow, for spending some time with us today. We have a student question.
After you, Dr. Crow. So this is kind of a follow-up. So this is actually, it's good timing. It's kind of follow-up to...
Name and major.
Oh, I'm Jacob Blackstone, and I'm studying software engineering. I'm a freshman. So it was good time. This is kind of a follow-up to the last question. So as you might know, there's a bill in the state legislature right now that will allow employers to pay student or anyone under 22 federal minimum wage. So my question is, if that passes, will ASU take advantage of that, and what's ASU's current position on that?
Yeah, to reiterate my last answer and to just make that clear, we're not going to pay people $7.35 an hour. We're going to pay the state's minimum wage, whatever that happens to be. It's being ramped up over a couple of years, and so we're not interested in that bill.
Thank you, Dr. Crow.
Thank you. And then just one question from a student that's not here. How are the summer tuition relative to the 2019-2020 ASU tuition proposal? How is summer tuition going to change, if at all?
Summer tuition?
Yes.
I don't know. This summer is the same, and then there's no effect until next summer, right? So this summer is the same, whatever the structure is now, and there's no change in tuition until the fall. There we go.
Thank you. Don't have any further questions. All right, we'll move to the next campus. Thank you.
Okay. Why don't we go with, where's our MC?
Hello. Can we, does anyone on the downtown campus have any questions?
We can't hear you. We can see you.
Huh?
Okay.
Hello?
Yes?
All right, perfect. Okay, so I have a list of prepared questions here, but I want to open it up to the room here first. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask President Crow before I go ahead and read from this list? All right, perfect. All right, so first question from the downtown campus is, what was your thought process that led you to change the current tuition fee model, and is there a particular algorithm that you use to achieve this?
So the thought process is really one of simplicity and predictability. How do we make the bills simpler and more understandable? We had grown over 6,000 class fees, hundreds of other fees, dozens of other kinds of fees, and we just wanted to make it as simple as possible. And then predictable means we can basically say that if your tuition is not going to go up by more than a certain percentage over the entire time that you're here. Well, that's massive predictability. So then you don't have to worry about getting a big tuition jump. You can plan, your parents can plan, your financial supporters, if you have them, can plan. So those were the two most important things. And then those are basically a part of our plan to remain the lowest cost option within Arizona, any college within Arizona that offers bachelor's degrees, and then for an Arizona resident, the lowest in the country. So trying to keep the institution as affordable as possible. So those are the basic logics.
Great, thank you so much. And just a follow up to that statement, some students have mentioned here on the downtown campus that they feel that the new tiered fee structure, while now simplified, is also less transparent. How would you like to respond to these concerns?
I don't know how many of those, I would ask how many of those students if they'd actually looked at it yet, because we just put it out, so they may be speculating. And so rather than speculate, take a close look at the proposal. It's so transparent. It basically says, here's the base tuition, $10,700 plus or minus. If you're in colleges X, Y, or Z, you have no additional fees. If you're in colleges A, B, or C, you have a $200 or $300 fee, and then the other's a $700 fee, and then the other's $1,000 fee. Basically, those are the rates of the differences, and so that's it. And then the only other fees you have in addition to that are the mandatory student choice fees, the fees that students have agreed to put on themselves. And so that's the entire bill. So in the document that we put out, in the case that we put out, you'll see that it grossly simplifies the bill, and it's completely transparent. What wasn't transparent before Because you might take a class and not know that there was a fee. And then you go and look at your bill and then you see there's a fee for this particular class. And then there's a fee for that particular program. And then there's a fee for this and a fee for that, a technology fee, a surcharge fee. All those fees are gone. So now you have one of 4 fee structures. And depending on the college of your home major, that's your fee structure. For some, it's 0. And for some, it's $1,000, give or take. And so that then is highly simplified. Your bill will be basically 4 lines. That's it. That's your bill. That's highly simplified, much more transparent than anything we had before. Now, some students have concerns about transparency relative to, well, how do I know that the materials that I need for my class are going to be there if I'm paying a fee sort of at the college level? Well, all the resources that are needed for a class go to that particular class, and the faculty within that unit and the faculty within that school and the faculty within that college then are accountable for delivering those materials and support services for those classes. And so that's much more transparent than the way we had before, when you didn't even know that you were paying a fee.
Great, thank you. Do we have time for one more question on the downtown campus?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So as I'm sure you also hear these concerns every year as well, many students also share worries about tuition continuing to rise annually and recommend either decreases or freezes. So what would you like to say to these students?
I'm running through my mind. I'm now calculating where we've had freezes in our economy. I can't think of any yet. And so it turns out that what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep the cost as low as possible, keep it as predictable as possible, keep it at or around the level of inflation. If you can't keep up with inflation, then even if you're paying a little bit more, you have less resource to invest than the actual economy costs. And so what we've struck is we've struck a balance. So we've said, can we keep the entire, at one point in our institution's recent history, we had 30%, 39% tuition increases in 1 year, followed by 20% the year after that. And so what we're saying is that for 10 years, no, we're going to have 3% or less, as close to 0 as possible. We have 7 years of experience where we've now delivered 1.7% as the average for in-state students. And so that's what we're basically saying. So this notion of as close to free as possible, we've had some zeros in there, and we would continue to have zeros. If it looks like it sort of is depending on how the operating budget of the university is working. And so what we've structured is a new model that doesn't require tuition to continue to rise the way that it's rising at most institutions. So how many of you in the audience are from Arizona? So if you went to college in California at a public university, does it cost $10,000 a year, $11,000 a year? No, it costs $40,000. If you went to the University of Southern California, how much does that cost? $50,000 or more. And so where we are is we're down in the ranges of $10,000 to $11,000. That's actually not for in-state students, the actual what's called net tuition. So how many students in the room are on some kind of financial aid other than a loan? So it's about 76% of the students at the university are on some kind of financial aid other than a loan. So for in-state students, then that means then that what's called your net tuition, what do you actually pay, is well below the $11,000, $10,700 tuition level. And so again, we've kept that as low as possible. And how many are out of state? And so for out-of-state students, our out-of-state tuition, believe it or not, some of you might be shocked by this, is modest compared to other states. So what is the out-of-state tuition at the University of Colorado or the University of Michigan or the University of Washington for out-of-state students? Well, it's much higher than ours, dramatically higher than ours. And so we try to be what we call average with out-of-state tuition. We try to be as low as possible for in-state tuition. Now, I ask people this. I won't ask you guys sitting right here, but I say, okay, now if Stanford's getting $55,000 per student per year from tuition, and we're getting $11,000 plus or minus from an in-state student, so they have $40,000 plus or minus more to work with per year. So we get some money from the state, so about $5,000. So we'll call that 15,000 versus, we'll just round it, 15,000 versus 50,000. So what do they do with their other $35,000? Lots of things. But can our product be any less than theirs? That is the graduate themselves. So can the business major or the art major or the engineering major or the science major from ASU have a lesser experience than the student from Stanford? No. They have to have the same educational quality on a much lower resource base. So how do you do that? You have to engineer the university in a particularly creative way to get that to work. You have to use technology, use scale, use size, use things and work to your advantage, teach in different ways, make things happen in different ways. And so this notion of no tuition increase, we believe that that actually depletes the resources available to the students going forward below the threshold for which we can continue to deliver quality. So what we've done instead of no tuition increase is the lowest possible tuition increase and still deliver the highest possible service and the highest possible quality.
Thank you, Ali. Moving
Thank
on
you.
to the next campus. Are there any questions from the West Campus?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Is that Alex?
Thank you, President Crow, so much for your time. With that, if anyone has questions from the West Campus, please ask it.
Hello, President Crow. How are you?
Very good.
My name is Tony Kamisi, and I am currently a junior studying business management within the W.P. Carey School of Business. And I had a quick question about the infrastructure, specifically within ASU West. So from my experience working at the University Technology Office for the last 3 years, I've noticed that a lot of the classrooms, particularly in the Sands building, still use VGA cords. So I was wondering what was the specific infrastructure plan, if there is a specific plan, to possibly upgrade to HDMI cords?
Well, that's a very technical question, but I appreciate it. And it basically goes to the root of where we are, which is that we're in constant upgrade. So we're upgrading every room that hasn't been upgraded will be upgraded. Every room that was recently upgraded will be upgraded again. Every system that hasn't been upgraded, like the Wi-Fi systems and so forth, will be upgraded. Once those are all upgraded, then they're upgraded again. This is a continuous, ongoing, forever process for us. And so it takes a while to catch up to the hundreds of classrooms. And I think we have tens of thousands of Wi-Fi users at any given point in time. All these things are going on at the same time. The UTO office that you work in support with is deployed across the entirety of the university with hundreds of projects that they're implementing at any given point of time. And if it turns out that a room is working fine with the technology that it has, sometimes that takes a second priority to a new space that's putting in or a space that has some sort of problem, but everything is being upgraded constantly.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions from the West Campus?
Hello, my name is Otisha Hutchinson, and I'm a forensic science major here at the West Campus. And I had a question with regards to how is ASU assisting currently in getting the forensic science program accredited as it strives for it here?
Well, a great question. I don't know where we are in terms of that specific accreditation. We pursue all accreditations where they are important or meaningful. So I'd have to ask Academic Affairs. I see Deputy Provost Stephanie Lindquist is here. Stephanie, do you know anything about what we're doing on accreditation of our forensic science program? Hold on for a second.
Thank you so much for that question. I don't know exactly where we are on that. So I'm happy to find out for you and check with Dean Sandrin about that.
So what we can do there is if you can give someone your name and email address there, staff that's there, then they'll get it to Provost Lindquist, and then we'll get back to you on where we are. We have about 150 or so academic programs, probably 100 of them that are accredited in some way or another or more, plus every college. And so it sort of depends on where we're going. We don't usually avoid accreditation unless the accrediting authority is no good, which is occasionally the case. Forensic sciences, I don't know. And so we'll look into that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Nikki?
Hi, my name's James, and I'm a political science student here at West. And I was wondering what ASU is doing to remain competitive in terms of its degrees and programs.
Well, so competitiveness in terms of degrees and programs. So we offer over 400 degrees, plus or minus. They are all competitive. We're not offering any degree programs that aren't competitive. We're not offering any degree programs for which the graduates are not well positioned for the marketplace. Your question goes to how are we moving forward with these to enhance our competitiveness? So we're looking to constantly improve Now, the way that now go back to the resource issue. Let's freeze tuition and have no new resources. So how do you advance the university with no new resources? So it may be that the ranking of a department or a school is dependent upon us needing 5 more faculty members in that department, or 5 more nationally ranked faculty members who come from the National Academy of Sciences or the National Academy of Medicine or the National Academy of Education. So let's take a school like the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, very highly ranked in the top 20 of all colleges of education or teaching in the country. There's a handful of schools that are above us. And then, so one says, okay, well, how do you beat them in the rankings? Now, we're already ranked, let's say, I think last year we were ranked 11th out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of schools. Yet, nonetheless, our dean, Carol Basile, she has an assignment to drive up the status and the performance and the ranking of that college. Well, to do that, she needs new resources. She needs new resources to seed fund research. That drives up your ranking. She needs new resources to hire members of the National Academy of Education. That drives up your resources. She needs resources to hire more faculty, to offer more classes. She needs resources to improve her doctoral programs and her master's programs. That's more resources. All those things are necessary. So what we're doing as we advance the university using growth as a resource acquisition strategy, we're using these resources with our deans to drive up the quality of our programs. And so every dean, if you go to the university's overall goals, every dean has an objective of driving up the quality of their programs. There is no program in the university, I can say this confidently, that's not in the top 10% of programs that exist. We don't operate anything out of the 90th that's below the 90th percentile. We used to. Those programs were either changed, adjusted, absorbed into other programs, or they don't exist anymore. Because all the programs we have, we were trying to make as high quality as possible.
Thank you, James. So we're gonna come back to Tempe. If there are any questions, just raise your hand and we'll go around with the mic.
Couple back here.
All right, we have a question right here.
Good afternoon. My name is Ian Shea, and I'm a senior majoring in economics and mathematics. And first of all, it's my pleasure to finally meet you in person, President Crow.
Here I am, living, breathing, flesh and blood.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So I noticed that all the questions so far have been quite dismal, so I prepared a more hopeful one for you.
Okay.
Okay, so as you may be aware of, upcoming on the 10th of this month is one of Barrett's many signature events, namely the Honors Symposium. As freshmen taking human event, honor students are required to read the first literary work on Symposia, which is Plato's Symposium, where Socrates, Plato, and friends drink together and talk about love. The word symposium itself also has a Greek origin, which means to drink together. So in short, my question is that, isn't it about time that we make Honors Symposium an event where alcohol is provided or at least allowed so we can, drink together and talk about our love for research, Barrett and ASU. Thank you very much.
So alcohol does exist on campus. There are places that serve alcohol on campus to people that are of legal drinking age. There are probably other places that serve alcohol to people that are not of legal drinking age. And so there's no prohibition from an event being set up in a way where those that can legally drink can drink. And so to your point, going all the way back to the Greek philosophers and their way of thinking, you're just scratching the surface of their particular views of the world. They were actually quite unique individuals in many ways, not just symposia. They're what? So are ASU students. And so it turns out that there are plenty of opportunities to have great events, great symposia with what do they call that stuff? That sparkling apple juice? Martinelli's. And so there's plenty of opportunities for that. But I take your point. You guys can also go out and work to change the minimum drinking age to 18. It used to be 18 when I was in college. It was 17 in Virginia for a while. I think almost every state now is 21. And if anything, states would raise it to 25 if they could. And so it's a very complex subject on many, many fronts. In California, they just raised the smoking age, legal smoking age, to 21. And I think there's some plans to do that in Arizona also. And so so if you guys want this, in the democracy that we're a part of, if you want these ages of alcohol consumption to be lowered, well, they've been lowered in the past. Just be my guest. Fight the fight. So.
Thank you for your thoughtful question. We'll take a few more questions from Tempe and then go back to the other
Mountain Dew
campuses.
is a fantastic drink, by the way.
Hi, my name is Eliana Burns. I'm a sustainability major. So I know that in 2017 we accepted a large donation from the Koch brothers. So I was wondering how much influence they have, because I know from other students there's a lot of concern that they have too much influence over professors or the textbooks.
Could people hear Eliana's question? No, I didn't think so. The microphone wasn't good.
Okay. Hi, my name is Eliana Burns. I'm a sustainability major. So my question was, in 2017, I believe it was, we accepted a large donation from the Koch brothers. And I was wondering how much influence they had over our campus, because at other campuses, there are many concerns about them influencing professors that get selected or textbooks.
Right, so very good question. So to be clear, so the Koch brothers are not an entity. There happen to be multiple male children of someone named Koch who happen to be brothers, and therefore they're often referred to as Koch brothers. Sometimes they mean Charles and they mean the other brother David, both of whom are billionaires who have been active politically. And one of them, Charles Koch, also has a separate foundation which is not political. Foundations in the United States are 501c3 organizations, and they're not allowed to be with their resources. To be political, you have to be what's called a 501c4. Those are Internal Revenue Service classifications. So he has a political set of entities that they have participated in, the brothers, and they get referred to in the media. And then over here, there's the Charles Koch Foundation. The Charles Koch Foundation has funded more than 200 universities, including ASU, Harvard, and many other universities for specific projects. Our projects funded by whoever funds the project, the foundation, an individual, an agency of the government, a company, whoever it happens to be, they do not tell us what to do. We negotiate what we're going to do for the resources that we receive. We will not give up publication rights. We will not give up control. We won't give up anything. We make the appointments of the faculty. We determine how much the faculty make. We determine how the faculty get evaluated. And so the only reason that we would take funding from anyone is that they want to do something we want to do. And so Charles Koch Foundation has funded work here at ASU related to what's called economic liberty. And they've also funded work inside our school for economic and political thought. And they funded faculty members to do research based on, and basically in economic theory, economic models, economic policy, philosophical assessment, and philosophical design. Those are all topics that our faculty are well capable of working in. They do not have influence, and nor would we accept any influence from them that says, you can't do this or you can't do that. In fact, what we're interested in is people that are interested in what we're interested in. So your School of Sustainability, which I was a part of its founding and creation, is a school focused on finding whole new ways to create sustainable interfaces between the built environment and the human and the natural environment, so between the human environment and the natural environment. And so let's say that Mr. Koch, Charles Koch, and his foundation said, well, for you to take this money, I need you to dial back your programs in global climate change. We'd say, well, take your money. We're not going to dial back our programs in global climate change. We're not going to dial back the things that we're working on because we don't take conditions. We take terms, like here's how the payments will come in. Here's the reports that we will produce. Here's what the general topic of the funding is, but we won't take conditions. And so that we won't take conditions on anything, nor would you want us to, because then we would be subject to this kind of political control of other organizations. And so the Charles Koch Foundation is a good and fair funder of academic work. That's different than Charles Koch, the politically active person pursuing whatever he thinks should be the political outcomes of the different political races that are going on.
Thank you so much for that answer.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Other question right here.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Crow. My name is David Nkansa. I'm from Ghana, West Africa. I'm studying
just there.
What'd you say?
I was just there.
Oh, I see.
I was in Accra and I was in Kumasi.
I hope you liked it.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I walked around a lot. I went to meetings everywhere. Had fantastic time in Kumasi and in Accra, and enjoyed the visit very much. We have a sister university there in Kumasi. We have a number of programs going on there. We have a number of students from Ghana. We have a lot going on.
Thank you very much. That makes my question a lot easier. Well, my question is in two folds.
Okay.
So I'm from Ghana, West Africa, like I said, and coming here and seeing how well structured the university is, I came to admire you as a man. For instance, we're involved in the entrepreneurship program, and there's an extensive entrepreneurship incubation program here that we have benefited from. And so I said that to say that because I came to admire you, we sought to show you our solution, which helps introduces children to science at an early age. For 2 semesters continually, every attempt to reach you has been met with being referred to somebody else.
Yes, this happens sometimes, but go ahead. We're here right now, though.
Absolutely. And so my question is, since you're here right now, is there any way you could take away the bureaucracy and
It's not so much the bureaucracy. I appreciate your bringing up the point. I mean, so we have 500 student companies that spun out last year. And so sometimes I have a chance to see a few per year. And so if we can find some time, you know, and sometimes the way that it works is what I'll say to people, I can meet you at 6:30 on Wednesday morning at Cubs. And so some people will say, okay. And some people will say, that's too early for me. So you want to meet at 6:30 on Wednesday morning at Cubs?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll see you Wednesday morning at 6:30 at Cubs.
Thank
Cubs
you.
is the coffee shop right next to my building, because I teach a class at 7:30 on Wednesday, so I'll be there at 6:30.
Absolutely. Thank
Okay,
you.
very good.
Secondly, ASU has a very strong international presence. And as part of that, in my personal experience, I have noticed that some of the staff don't necessarily know how to deal with the cultural differences. So for instance, I stood to speak to you because in my culture, it is a sign of respect to speak to an elderly person when you stand.
Thank you for the elderly part, but yes. Someone told me that some of our students from China refer to me as grandpa something, but go ahead.
But then also sometimes in conversation with staff, you realize that, you know, someone wants to refer you to a friend from Uganda or some part of Africa, and that has this, I'm not really looking for another person from South Africa because I'm from Ghana, if that makes any sense. Is there a structure in place to sensitize the staff
Yes.
about international ethics or whatever it is, since they have to do with such a great number of international students?
Well, I think, what are there, 53 countries in Africa, something like that. And so it is highly likely that almost no American could name all 53 countries in Africa. I think maybe I could, but I'm not 100% sure. And so I think that we could do a lot to improve awareness on campus, and we should work to do that in terms of international students and where they come from. And I know we're working to do that. And if you have ideas or recommendations about that, that would be great. The world is a tiny place. I came back from Ghana, and I was walking on campus the very next day after I returned, and these 2 women came up to me and they said, "Oh, just saw you on Instagram in Ghana." And they said, "Well, we're from Ghana." I think one of the young women said that she was from a town in the northern reaches of the country, and she had just seen that I was there just 2 days before that, and recognized me walking down the sidewalk. So it's a tiny little world in a lot of ways. And so we do have to find ways to understand each other and interact with each other. So I appreciate your questions. And so we'll meet after this and we can decide on the exact location for getting together on Wednesday morning.
Thank you. So I know there's a lot of questions still on the Tempe campus, but let's just go around the other campuses really quickly. There are any left. So with that, are there any other questions from the Poly campus?
Yes, we got a few more questions from one student. Cool.
Hi there, my name is Luke. Thank you for your time. Our first question is, recently you guys sent out an email just telling us about some of the endeavors that ASU is involved in. One of which, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, is the Roden Crater, I believe. It said that ASU was partnering to raise about $200 million to build that. I was just wondering what the intention is of how that's supposed to reflect on ASU and what the purpose of that funding kind of is.
So thank you. The Roden Crater project is a project of 100,000 acres in northern Arizona, which near the center of those 100,000 acres is a volcano called Roden Crater. That volcano has been transformed into a living art and science project in which a telescope has been bored through the walls of the volcano to create a space which then creates light in the way that it enters this volcano and reflects off the natural rock within that volcano to create unbelievable artistic experiences that are very earth-shaking for people. And so our plan is to work with the artist, a person by the name of James Terrell, and the foundation, a thing called the Skystone Foundation, now create on that site not only the opportunity to finish that project, that is the telescope and art part of the project, and we can send out a video to all students. We should do that, the Roden Crater video. So I don't know if is Denise in here or who's managing communications. And so we'll send that Roden Crater out as a response to this question so everybody can see this, what we're doing, why we're doing it. We're also going to be ultimately building special learning centers on that site so that students can go to that site and learn nature, culture, art, science, connections, linkages. It's an unbelievable, when you see the video, you'll see what I mean. It's literally beyond belief. And so this will be for as many students as possible. So this is where we're headed with this particular project. 100,000 acres, to put that into perspective, is something on the order of 25 miles one direction and 10 miles another direction. It's a huge, huge, huge location. And James Terrell is an absolute unique artist in human history. The light that he is able to create somehow interacts with your brain in a certain way in which you touch the light, physical particles, you can feel them. You can actually put your hand in the light and feel it. It's the way that the brain is activated. It's really quite an amazing thing. So we'll send that video out to everybody so you can see what we're up to. It was about 5 degrees when they videotaped me for that. And when you hear me talking, which you'll hear me talking right at the beginning of the video, I had no idea what I was there for. So I didn't know we were being videoed. Any other questions? Where'd our president go? There she is.
Are there any other questions from the Troy campus?
Go ahead. Yes, thank you very much for that response. Another question, the recent Change the World events, did you enjoy it when you were able to stop by? And if so, what do you like to see from that in the future?
I didn't hear the beginning part. Recent, what kind of events?
Change the world. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I saw some things, but not many. How does everybody else think that things went for that Change the World event? Seeing a yes, a positive, seeing some positive head shakes. Some people are saying a little bit, very well, okay. How many of you had a chance to see the Change the World things? Yeah, very good. So those are important energy expression opportunities for our students. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Back to you.
Oh, yes. I was wondering what you would like to see from that in the future, if it's going to be a recurring event.
Well,
How would you like to see it go?
from my perspective, what I'm hopeful of is I'm a big believer that while criticism is really, really important and really useful, what's more important than criticism is, well, what do you got? Like, what's your idea? How do you actually make something better? And so how do you do something that no one has ever done before? So the more we can get ideas from you as students while you are not yet inserted into the previous organizations, which are far more rigid than we, that is the government agencies or the corporations or the other institutions that you'll become a part of. What we're after is maximum creativity, maximum ideas. The newness of ideas is really, really important. So that's what I look for from this program.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
So moving forward to the downtown campus, is there any other questions from downtown students?
Yes, thank you. We have one last question for downtown this afternoon. So the Barrett fee increase proposal this year has raised many concerns about the current honors experience. How does the university plan to improve the Barrett experience for both current and prospective students moving forward?
So Barrett, what we call Barrett, the Honors College at Arizona State University, is an outstanding program. It has been recognized as the leading honors college in the country. people don't realize that Stanford undergraduates is an honors college. Harvard College at Harvard University is an honors college. Columbia College at Columbia University is an honors college. Amherst College is an honors college. Bowdoin College is an honors college. Grinnell College is an honors college. Barrett is an honors college. The students that are in Barrett are very similar in their learning modalities to the students at those other honors colleges. So what we're trying to do is to create an opportunity of a unique experience in Barrett, which is an experience where you have 40 or 50 separate honors faculty that are then tied into the other 3,600 faculty at the university. Those faculties come together, and in the honors college, how many of you are Barrett students? How many of you are double majoring? So most Barrett students double major, some triple major, some even do more than that. And so the opportunity is to have what we call deeply immersive, intense learning. And it turns out that as we ramp that forward, the costs associated with those programs so outstrip the costs of other students that we have to change the fee structure there. So our hope is to basically continue to emerge the Barrett College experience as the #1 honors college in the country. And I mean the #1 honors college in the country, including the honors colleges that I mentioned that sound like universities. Stanford, Bowdoin, these other schools, some of which that you've heard, some of which you haven't. And so that's our goal. Now, when we achieve that goal, we'll be at a price structure that's 1/4 the price structure of the other honors colleges. We're not quite to the resource level that we need. We want to keep it down at the 25% range in terms of total cost compared to other honors colleges. And that's basically what we're trying to construct. So we see this as sort of the last step in the process of securing the resources necessary for that honors college operate at that level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. All right, are there any questions from the West Campus?
Thank you, Dr. Crow. We have no further questions from the West Campus.
Okay, thanks.
President Crow, do you have any, would you like to answer any last minute questions from Tempe?
No, let me just go back to this comment of, we tried to get a hold of you and we tried multiple times and we couldn't get through to you and so forth. So I have between 75 and 90 meetings a week. That's a lot. And so we do the best we can. We probably have 5 times as many requests as we do for slots of time. And so we manage the best we can. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. And then what will happen is that then we'll say, okay, how about 6:30? How about 6 o'clock? How about midnight? Why don't you ride in my car with me somewhere? Why don't you walk with me back somewhere? So this is the way that we do these things. And so it usually works out. So appreciate you bringing it up.
All right. Do we have time for 1 or 2 more questions?
One more.
Okay, perfect. We'll take 1 more question from RJ right there.
Hello. Thank you for being here today. My name is Jaylene Matrecito. You can call me Jay. Don't have to call me Jay. With the Residence Hall Association. So our question is, with an increase in students opting for on-campus housing, we've noticed that there hasn't been enough bed spaces to accommodate this growth. As a result, this year we saw people being housed in the Union and Moxie as well. Is there any plan to sort of expand our on-campus housing to possibly accommodate this in the future?
Right. We've got a lot going on in this space. We have 2 new residence halls that have been approved and are moving forward. One on the Polytechnic campus and one on the downtown campus. We're moving forward with those. We know we need to expand the Greek Leadership Village, so we're getting planning for that in motion. We know that we need more residence hall spaces, particularly on the downtown campus and then also on this campus. And so Student Affairs has been tasked with making certain that we don't turn anyone away going forward, number 1, which we'd have before, and we don't want to do that anymore. Second, that if you do go somewhere, it's going to be predictable and it's going to be on the campus that you thought that you were going to be at, looking at Dr. Rund here, and it's not going to be in an unprogrammed space, meaning you're not going to just be, thrown out into some hotel somewhere and just good luck. And so our plan ultimately is to build many more spaces for resident students. And then along the way, we may acquire control of certain other buildings that we don't own. So that's another thing that we can do. So then we become the programmers of those buildings, and that's the same as being in a residence hall. So I don't think we'll experience what we experienced in the past 2 or 3 years going forward. Jimmy, you want to comment on that?
Only that we had unexpected growth in the freshman class. And the priority is of course always on freshmen to make sure all first-year student gets started the right way. We had a commitment to continuing students also, which required some rooms regrettably, so we could accommodate freshmen, but more planning and better coordination on right sizing or understanding what the prospective increase in the freshman class will ensure against the kind of experience they had here. Appreciate your question.
Thank you. That concludes our forum. Can everyone give a round of applause for President Crow and ASU administration? And then a final thank you to everyone who came, ask me questions. Feel free to grab a Hydro Flask as you walk out. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.